Can thought alone bring you to orgasm? Can orgasms help you heal wounds? And why do we feel so enlightened after busting a nut? Here's everything you ever wanted to know about the biology behind orgasms. Orgasms can be broken down into 4 stages: excitement, plateau, orgasm, and resolution. Think of it like a roller coaster, thrilling, sweaty, and over before your partner even realizes the ride started. Excitement is the stage where your body initially becomes aroused. This is kind of like getting into the car and strapping yourself in. In the plateau phase, arousal increases, as do its physiological effects, just like when the roller coaster is slowly making its way up the ramp to the big drop. This all builds to the orgasm itself, which is a full-body release of tension that leads to overwhelming feelings of pleasure, like when the coaster really lets rip and goes down the dip at full speed. And then, of course, resolution, where your body is booting back up after a full system reset. That's when you get off the roller coaster and you wonder if you have the energy to join the line and ride that bad boy again. Each phase of the sexual response cycle involves different muscles, chemicals, and parts of the brain, all working together toward the end goal of getting your rocks off. So let's get past the foreplay and dive deeper into what happens every step along the way. Let's start with excitement. While an orgasm will have different end results depending on what equipment you're working with, it all starts with an organ that we all have: the brain. The brain is sometimes called the most erotic part of the body, and that is not just because of its power to conjure up sexy thoughts. It's responsible for sending out the chemicals and the signals that make physical arousal possible in the first place. All physical sensation is caused by nerve endings transmitting stimuli to the brain. If it's a positive sensation, the brain categorizes it as pleasure, and if it's a negative sensation, the brain categorizes it as pain. That line isn't always clear-cut though, and the blurring of pleasure and pain responses in the brain explains all those people who are into whips and manacles, or who eat Carolina Reaper chili peppers on purpose. But that is a topic for another video. Human genitals have a crazy number of nerve endings. Both the glans clitoris and the glans penis have about 8,000 of them, sometimes even more. A state of sexual arousal can be reached physically through touching those sensitive areas, but you can also stimulate them mentally through watching or reading adult material, looking at someone you're attracted to, or even just thinking naughty thoughts. The anus and the perineum also have a lot of nerve endings, though not as many, and can be stimulated by touch in both sexes. There's also the coveted, controversial, and possibly mythical G-spot, an erogenous zone located 2 to 3 inches up the vaginal wall that produces extremely powerful orgasms when stimulated. Scientists have been studying the G-spot since the 40s, but its existence is hotly debated in the field of sexology, with some people claiming it's just an extension of the clitoris. Regardless of what bits you're fooling around with or how you're doing it, the stimulation will be transmitted to the brain through the pudendal and perineal nerves, where the input will activate reward pathways. Regardless of sex, all of our brains are wired to seek out rewards, which come in the form of chemicals released by the mesolimbic pathway. These pathways release dopamine, a chemical that causes happiness and excitement. Thanks to millions of years of evolution, our mesolimbic pathways tend to release dopamine when we perform activities that aid in our survival. Eating, drinking water, getting paid, and exercise release dopamine for obvious reasons, but so do any activities that reinforce social bonds. These are things like talking to friends, finishing a project, getting praise at your job or school, or learning something new. And since sexual intercourse is both physically advantageous and reinforces social connection, it makes sense that anything to do with sex releases a lot of dopamine. You don't even have to be engaging in intercourse to experience the effect. Any activity that stimulates erogenous zones will cause a rush of dopamine. Dopamine isn't the only hormone at work in your orgasm, though. While the dopamine increases your sense of excitement and anticipation, your hypothalamus is also releasing another chemical called oxytocin. Oxytocin is sometimes called the love hormone due to studies that correlate it with strong maternal instincts in both humans and animals. But in reality, it's more of an all-purpose social awareness hormone. Studies suggest it increases empathy and generosity, which strengthens bonds with family units and social groups. In the context of orgasm, though, oxytocin has an important biological function beyond just strengthening the bond between sexual partners. In a 1987 paper called Plasma Oxytocin Increases in the Human Sexual Response, scientists theorized that oxytocin's effect on muscle contractibility might aid in conception by facilitating sperm and egg transport. Along with oxytocin, the brain also produces another chemical called vasopressin. This chemical is most associated with maintaining kidney function, But a possible secondary function might be increasing sexual motivation alongside dopamine and oxytocin. Once the brain registers arousal, the rest of the body reacts accordingly. Your heart rate increases, the arteries in your genitals dilate, leading to the sex organs becoming engorged with blood. With penises, this leads to an erection. Arousal in men also causes the scrotum to retract closer to the body. In vaginas, this leads to increased sensitivity and is accompanied by the production of lubricating fluids. In both sexes, this is also accompanied by deeper breathing and rising blood pressure, things that happen in anticipation of physical exertion. That physical exertion comes in the form of the next phase, the plateau. This is the phase right before orgasm, which normally lasts between 30 seconds and 2 minutes. Extra blood continues to flow to the genitals, and your body temperature increases. Sexologist Dr. Laura Deitch says that more blood also flows to the breasts in the plateau phase of orgasm, giving the appearance of breasts getting up to 25% larger. Your heart rate rises to between 150 and 175 beats per minute, and your muscles start to contract involuntarily. This obviously includes the muscles in the pelvis, but can also extend to the muscles in the hands, legs, feet, and face. Basically, every muscle in your torso starts to tense up. Your legs might start shaking, and you might also start moving your pelvis involuntarily. At this point, the vagina continues to increase lubrication, and the penis may start to produce lubricating fluid as well. Back in your brain, more changes are happening. The prefrontal cortex and the lateral orbital frontal cortex start to slow down. These are the parts of the brain associated with fear, anxiety, and behavioral control. But the frontal cortex, which is associated with abstract thought, stays active, allowing you to summon up sexual fantasies to further increase arousal. The plateau phase then builds to the explosive climax that is the orgasm itself. But what seems in the moment to be one big release is actually a mix of lots of smaller processes. In penises, the orgasm is split into 2 parts, emission and ejaculation. During emission, semen is pumped from the testicles into the urethra in preparation for the next part, ejaculation. During ejaculation, the muscles of the penis and pelvic floor contract in order to expel the semen out of the body through the penis. Penile orgasms usually last between 5 and 20 seconds. But what about the other side of the coin? The muscles in the vagina, the anus, and the uterus all contract simultaneously and then relax, then contract multiple times in a sort of wave pattern. These contractions each last 0.8 of a second. An average orgasm might be made up of 5 or so contractions, while a particularly intense one can have up to 15. During these contractions, the vagina might also ejaculate, expelling fluids from the Skene's gland near the urethra. Like the G-spot, though, the existence of vaginal ejaculation, how often it happens, and why it happens are all hotly debated topics in the world of gynecology and sexology. Research into the topic has been scant, and studies have suffered from poor sample sizes and overly narrow focus. In fact, scientists still haven't figured out what female ejaculate is. It can contain an enzyme called prostatic acid phosphatase, or PSA, and fructose, just like male ejaculate, or it might just be pee, no one really knows. During the orgasm phase, the orbital frontal cortex, which controls decision-making, is completely switched off, leading to a general feeling of not being in control of your own body. And if you've ever wondered why some people scream or pull weird faces while they orgasm, that's why. And if you're one of those people, we're sorry, but there's nothing you can do about it. And of course, there is the resolution phase. Some people call this the afterglow, others refer to it as the less poetic, but still accurate, post-nut clarity. And if you think of your body like a computer, then you can think of the resolution period after an orgasm as a hard system reset. The muscles relax, blood pressure decreases, breathing returns to normal, and the prefrontal and lateral orbital frontal cortexes resume regular functions. The blood flow to the genitals also returns to normal, so then the penis returns to its flaccid state, and the vagina and clitoris are no longer swollen. After orgasm, the brain is still producing lots of these feel-good chemicals, especially oxytocin. A 1987 study found evidence that in men, the levels of oxytocin in their blood plasma spike immediately after ejaculation and take 30 minutes to return to baseline levels. More recent studies have potentially corroborated this finding, but only in a portion of sample size that didn't amount to a statistically notable percentage. So it's more likely that oxytocin production during and after sex happens at about the same rate in both sexes. As we explained earlier, oxytocin reinforces social bonds, but it also has another effect that benefits you after orgasm. It aids in wound healing. A 2010 study found that oxytocin has anti-inflammatory properties and that positive social interaction can accelerate the healing process. This means oxytocin likely has a beneficial effect when it comes to alleviating muscle soreness after an orgasm. Perhaps it goes without saying, but even though all of these physiological and psychological effects evolved to facilitate procreation, they can happen outside of just heterosexual action. In people with vaginas, anal penetration can lead to orgasms by basically just stimulating all the same spots, but from the other direction. And as for everyone else, as we mentioned earlier, prostate stimulation can also lead to orgasm. However, there is a lot less known about the exact mechanics of a prostate orgasm, since most of the information about it comes from individual anecdotes. It's unclear if the pleasure comes from the nerves in the prostatic plexus or in the prostate itself. Those who have experienced prostate orgasms report a deeper, more intense sensation than what a penile orgasm gives them. But wait, there's more! You don't even have to do anything below the belt to get off. Sexy dreams can lead to nocturnal emission, also known as wet dreams, where orgasms occur while the person is sleeping. Some people are also able to achieve orgasm entirely through having their nipples stimulated. While a 2021 study theorized that 9% of adults in the US had experienced an orgasm while doing regular exercise, that might not sound like a lot, but since the US population is over 300 million, 9% of that is still 2 million. So you still might want to be extra sure all the surfaces are clean the next time you go to the gym. An orgasm is an intense full-body feeling, but that doesn't last for very long. After completing the sexual response cycle, there's a period of time where the body will just flat out refuse to take in any more sexual stimulation. This is what's called the refractory period, and it's necessary to prevent keeling over from orgasm-related exhaustion. The length of this period differs based on factors like age, sex, hormones, and it can be anywhere from between a few minutes to a few hours. In men, the time it takes for another erection to be possible is on average about 106 minutes. However, in women, this period is much, much shorter, a few minutes at most, meaning that it's possible for someone with a vagina to experience multiple orgasms in a row. Multiple orgasms with penises, though, it's much rarer. Only around 10% of cis men in their 20s and less than 7% of cis men older than 30 are capable of multiple orgasms. Multiple penile orgasms can be sporadic or condensed. Either refraction is delayed and multiple orgasms can occur within minutes, or 2 to 4 distinct orgasms take place within a few seconds of each other. Factors that can contribute to multiple penile orgasms include the use of stimulants such as methamphetamines, having multiple sexual partners, or using sex toys. In addition to feeling good, orgasms also have a lot of health benefits. Having orgasms during partnered sex can fortify your immune system and might even reduce your risk of heart disease. One study suggests that men who had partnered sex once a month had lower levels of C-reactive protein, which is linked to heart disease. Women who had sex once a month reported lower blood pressure. But even if you're single, you can still reap the health benefits of an orgasm. Studies have shown that masturbation can help you fall asleep quicker and have higher quality sleep. As we said before, oxytocin released during orgasm can speed up the healing of injuries, but orgasms can also relieve aches and pains. After orgasm, the brain releases endorphins, a peptide produced by the pituitary gland, with a mood-boosting and pain-relieving effect. This is why masturbation can provide effective temporary relief from menstrual cramps. Penile orgasms also reduce the risk of prostate cancer. A study from 2003 demonstrated that cis men who had more than 21 orgasms a month were 30% less likely to develop prostate cancer than cis men who experienced less than 7. The science behind why this is the case is kind of like why it's good for you to drive your car really fast every once in a while. Ejaculation flushes out the system and keeps all your parts in good working order. One of the names for the orgasm is Le Petit Mort, or the Little Death. Ironic given that it can give you a whole new lease on life. You know what happens inside your body during an orgasm, but humans have found some truly bizarre ways to chase that same feeling. Watch weirdest sex customs around the world to discover traditions you won't believe actually exist. Or click on this video instead.